Hello everybody, this is Starman and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, as promised, I skipped ahead a bit, so we are at the opening of the Mac Mordain Cadal, and we are finally going to get through it and go all the way to Elvandar this time. But first we'll have to talk to the dwarf at the entrance again. I heard you coming down the passageway, and for a moment I thought you might be another one of them beasties come to rattle me bones. I suppose we're all a wee bit jumpy down here as of yet. Hope we didn't startle you too badly. We were just looking around for a way to get to Elvandar. I think I'd heard once it was on the other side of the Grey Towers. You found the way! These mines stretch all the way from one side of the Grey Towers to the other. We had collapsed here, but we broken through about half an hour ago. I saw me brother McNur for the first time in months. Oh, but there was some tragic loss too. There's some falls in the caverns, and the passages into it were terribly damaged. I don't know that we'll ever see it again. Terrible, terrible mess those Black Nur made. But we can get through to Elvandar? Aye, but I advise you to stick to the main passages, as there's some windy bits that can cause some immense distress. As is common, we wouldn't let you go until you get lost, but now only the major passageway had been cleared. You'll do safely now. Before we go, could we ask you a few questions? I don't see why not. What do you need to know, laddie? Well, we don't have anything else to ask about apart from Elvandar. After we leave the Mac Mordain Cadal, which way will we take to Elvandar? I've never been there. You don't think for a moment it's going to be as easy as that now, do you, lad? The elves don't exactly invite the rest of the world in for pleasant tea parties, and I think they'll take particular exception to your Mordain friend there. Oh, he's not Mordain, he's an elf that doesn't know the way to Elvandar. I'm no fool, and you'll be an even sorrier up if you try that one on War Leader Thomas's border rangers. They'll have the both of you hanging by your ankles from a tree in a sparrow's fall. If what I hear of me own brother McCurr is true, they may even have cause to shoot your friend on sight. What would they have against Goraf? Not impersonally against the Mordain. I'm not sure of the details, but I've heard the Mordain are pressed on the borders near Mordain. I'm sure my brother McCurr can tell you more about it. If he's not still in the Cadal, he may be on the road to Caldara. Okay, so things are a bit stressed between the elves and the dark elves, even more than usual. Anyway, don't we all, but a happier day have not long had. If you should be going through to Elvandar, just keep following your nose west until you see daylight. How would you say thank you in your native tongue? I don't think you get your tongue around, so I'll tell you, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Good traveling to you. Thank you, then. Goraf, why don't you lead the way? Well, Owen is still leading the party, but we shouldn't have much trouble getting through this. After all, it is a straight shot, and then we just turn right at the bit where we can't go that way anymore. And I don't think any new enemies respawn on this first floor. And just to make sure, we do still have plenty of rope. And there's the Black Nur Cave. And back to the ground floor. Well, the lower level. Not really the ground floor because we're below ground, but they descended noisily. Several times Owen nearly lost his footing on the mossy steps, but fortunately caught himself before sending them all tumbling down the dwarven stairwell. Now, of course, we can try exploring the side passageways this time. And it looks like there's more rogues up ahead. Someone or something screamed a warning. By the time it reached the ears of his companions, Owen already sized up the situation and stood poised for the first strike. Well, unfortunately, it's rogues, so no evil seeking here. But they should prove easy prey for grief of 1,000 knights. One, two, 1, 2. And we'll go ahead and take the gold, even though very shortly it won't do us much good. And just to check my overhead map real quick. Yeah, okay, that was one of the rooms we could explore before. There's where we ran into the kobolds before. I think north was where we were supposed to be able to find the secret treasure room, and yeah, it's not stopping us this time. Gilda's Thorn Key. Okay, I had to do a bit of an edit cut here, and I came back to this point because, embarrassingly, I got pretty far ahead and then fell down a pit that surprised me. Forgot my own lesson about not just running ahead, so we'll go ahead and crack this one. Thankfully, it looks like we've got we know just the lock we need for this one. And this will lead us into the treasure room of the Dragon Rugar. And thankfully this combat will be ludicrously easy because 3 trolls. And just wait for them to run off after we play our little tuning fork. Where exactly they're running to in a sealed off cavern is best not thought about. Death will come quickly to those who trespass here. Leave now, or your suffering will be 1,000 times worse than that of the one now buried beneath this marker. Shall we dig him up? Yeah, why not? An hour passed. Covered with grime and grave mold, Gorov distastefully flung back the heavy lid of the coffin to look at its contents. Immediately he retched as a thick ammonia scent billowed up from the coffin's corrupting remains. Just a body, he gagged. Yep, we've got 1, 2, 3 treasure chests. Go ahead and prepare Scent of Sereg. And the first one is locked with a word trap. Flaz the leaf, round as a ring, has 2 eyes but can't see a thing. Yeah, this one's a bit tricky unless you know you're sewing and know that the holes on a button are called eyes. And this gives us a couple of magic scrolls. Gambit of the 8 we already have, unfortunately, but the other is Black Nimbus, which you'll remember lets us deactivate trap crystals, not crap crystals. And this one also unlocked with a Gilda's Thorn Key. But it didn't give us much more than some gold in a shell. And this last one, unfortunately, it's not trapped, but it is way beyond our ability to pick locks. So, what is in that chest will have to remain a mystery, unfortunately. But we did survive the great doom. Doom, 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 doom. And our light is going out, so we'll go ahead and reactivate the ring. And there's nothing down that passageway but another treasure chest with more gold, which didn't really do us much good. So we'll just keep heading this way. And yeah, there's our trap. And it turns out that this is a dead end. Good thing we've got plenty of rope. And yeah, you barely even notice that fall, do you? Okay, so north is our direction. And back to the west, and... well, yep. Got one more Brocknor before the exit. They hadn't been seen. Charging forward into the murky darkness, Owen finally caught sight of the creature and gasped at the size of it. Glancing over his shoulder at Garth, he sighed, "This is going to be harder than I thought." Well, not so hard as you think, because We were able to hold this thing at bay with Despair Thy Eyes. Turns out even giant rockmen can be crippled by depression and ennui. And yes, search the body for supplies, but there are no supplies to be found upon a giant rockman. And here is our exit. A long corridor stretched before them. This must be the passage to Elvandar, noted Owen. If we go this way, it may take us a few hours to get up to the inn. Are we up to the climb right now? Yes, we are. Hours passed. Just as Owen was beginning to wonder if he would ever see the light of day again, the walls of the stairwell widened and they were illuminated by the shafts of light piercing the darkness through an oaken door. Pushing it open, Owen gasped at the marvel of the leafy canopy which spread above them. And it is still nighttime here. Actually, just nighttime, so go ahead and rest up. And yeah, very thick forest. You can barely see it for the trees, as it were. They were not alone. Goraf's pulse quickened as he saw the lone figure approach. When it became apparent they were not being attacked, he relaxed a bit, squinted slightly in an attempt to see who was about to join them. That's an awful mess from here on out. Wyverns have come in from the mountains and have singed things up a bit. If we hadn't been beaten back flames for the past few weeks, we'd have been through a month sooner. I don't know how many roads are passable at this stage. What Kenny Yarn that came and helped us clear out the mess in the mine left as soon as word reached us that the fires were approaching Elvandar. Where did the Wyverns come from? Where else, lad? The Northlands. Some new bastard Mordhell leader, I hear, harassing your kinfolk. You don't have any kits in harm's way. No. What of the Mordhell? A few is what had the nerve to cross over from Mordain have already gotten themselves skewered, though I know that Prince Cowan has been on the frontier looking for others. The biggest concern as yet is to put the flames out and get help to those trapped behind it all. So we'll go ahead and ask about the clear roads. We are required in Elvandar quickly. You mentioned fires. Extinguished now, though not without a fair portion of foot stomping and bucket carrying. I thought for a while the whole forest might come all for one ferocious blade, but Tafa and the rest of the Queen Algarana's spell relievers managed to put all that business. Then we should have no difficulty returning to Elvandar. I don't know if I would say exactly that. There's still a fair number of those Wyverns flapping about the forest, though Tafar's been working night and day to bring the Blighters down. He even taught Prince Count a little spellcraft that can bend the will of those cantankerous lizards. But I understand isn't for the alt of the raids. What of the dwarves? Oh, we volunteered a few men, but as you elves don't much like outsiders in your realm, we've respected your boros. King Dogan did send a few volunteers to help out the Elf Queen, but a lot of them took a terrible weariness once they entered the forest and could go no further. They must have fell afoul of one of your fabled sleeping glades. We'll go ahead and ask about Caldara, the village that we're in right now. If we may face Wyverns, it may be wise if we had our armor repaired. Are there any armor crafters in Caldara? Are there any leaves in Elvandar? You gone daft. Of course there are armor crafters in Caldara. You don't have to go all that way, though. I can repair it for a few gold if you watch close. You might even learn a bit about the craft of repairing armor. Does 100 sovereigns suit ye? Not at the moment. Don't mind if we check everybody else's price first, do you? That's your right, I suppose, but I'm the best in this side of the Grey Towers. Be it on your right if a Mordell sinks his sword up halfway through your innards. Well, if I'm going to pay for lessons, I'm going to make sure I am prepared to enjoy them fully. So we'll go to Prince Cowan. Prince Cowan leads. What of World Leader Thomas? Poor news indeed. 3 days Thomas led a band of elves to stimulate us what had come over the river from Mordain. They beat the latest backalites, but in the melee the warlord took a thrust to his side with a tainted blade. They had to carry him back to Elvandar, though I understand it wasn't without a struggle. Thomas wanted to stay, but word was carried back to Algarana of his condition, and that was the end of that. Prince Cowan assumed control of the patrols at that point, and Kenny still up into the northeastern fringe of the forest, carving up Moradel. Does the war leader yet live? That lad has ever been a fighter, and a tenacious one at that. Sooner he'll let them cut off a leg than succumb to the poison. I wouldn't worry, though. I think he took your kin for a turn, though, seeing Thomas fall. I never heard of it happening in the 15 years he's been with your folk. Yeah, that's because even though Thomas no longer has the power of the Valharu, he is still one heck of a swordsman and a heck of a warrior. So him getting knocked down by a poison Moradhell blade... Well, let's face it, it's pure plot convenience, so he can't go rescue Pug, so we're going to have to do it like we've had to do everything in this game so far because, well, it's one of those fantasy games. But that's neither here nor there. We'll go ahead and say our goodbyes, go to our character sheet, and even though Owen really does not need to upgrade his armor craft, and neither really does Gorath, I'm all about completeness for the sake of completeness. So we'll go ahead and step back that way. And, okay, we do have a reason to go back down there. Namely, making it easier for us to load this. Another pair of eyes and arms, and hopefully a brain betwixt. I'm glad to see the fire summer burn the two of you to a crisp. We may need some help with the folks up north. A Nilf splinter came by here not more than a few evenings ago and said the Prince Cal and his escorts were set upon by wyverns. As yet the young prince may have survived, but 3 of the war leader's men were struck dead, and the war leader Thomas was poisoned by Mordain arrow. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with clear roads, and yeah, there we go, armor crafters. Suits me just fine. What do we need to do? Well, I'd be much obliged if you remove any armor you might have under that tunic of yours, and if your elf friend will do the same. We'll get to work. Now, just watch what I do. Someone told me once that a few dents in armor can actually be beneficial. Something about them catching blows that ordinarily scrape along the surface into the chinks. Makes some sort of sense when you think about it, I suppose. Maybe it'd be a good idea to make armor so that it already had bumps. Faucets. If it already had it built in, then the armor... You're already finished? Aye, finished. You'll find your armor is in good a condition as it can be, lad. Though I dare say you'd have learned a great deal more if you spent more time listening and less time talking. Now, let's see. That did raise our armor craft ability, and... Wow, that almost doubled Owen's craft, and Goraf is now at a respectable 93%. Alright, well with that done, we'll go ahead and explore Kaldar a bit. Owen knocked gently on the door. Hickory-scented pipe smoke slid underneath, curled gently around his feet. The smell of berry reached his nose when the door was flung open. They were greeted by a smiling dwarf. "Great day! Come in, laddies! Join us!" Over his left shoulder, he could see several other dwarves seated around a small wooden table, onto which they were tossing several small square stones. Introductions complete, they're invited to join the game. Only 5 sovereigns. What do you say? I say money's not going to do us any good where we're going, so, yep. Standing around the table, Owen was given the stone, and after a count of 3 was thrown onto the table. "Klapka!" yelled one of the dwarves, grabbing the stone thrown by Owen. "You lose, lad." He scooped all the coins into his lap. "What? 'Twas a double dragon. The first one yelled clap down and grab the other one's stone is the winner. Care to try again?" "Attaboys, drop in the pot and pick up your stones." Once again, they tossed their stones on the table on the count of 3. This time, 2 of the dwarves stood up excitedly and yelled, "Vuka! Vuka!" They picked up their stones and slammed them down again. After the second throw, one dwarf slammed his fist onto the table, and then the other, grinning broadly, scooping the coins on his lap. "Ach, Vuka stones. Care to try your luck again, lads?" "Oh, why not?" "Very good. I think your luck is about to change," said the dwarf. They tossed the stones on the table for a 3rd time, the strange markings on each side flipping and spinning, wildly as they bounced across the table. "Tabled!" said one of the dwarves cheerfully, all the coins stand on the table. "You play again?" "Why not?" Owen tossed 5 more coins onto the table. Once again, at the count of 3, he threw his stone. This time, the settling of the stone was greeted by amazed silence as the dwarves stared at the table. "Ah!" yelled one dwarf. "It cannot be!" The others quickly joined in, and soon all were whispering and arguing amongst themselves in a language Owen did not understand. Finally, when the others looked on in disgust, the dwarf who met them at the door spoke. "You threw a dragon, lad." Realizing the import wasn't sinking in, he continued. "You threw a dragon and we all threw vukas." "Did we win?" Owen asked, still confused. "Kill me now, you'll win everything." The other dwarves began to dump handfuls of coins on the table. "Must be over 100 gold pieces. You'll be playing again, won't you?" Before the dwarves had a chance to complain, Goraf picked up the coins and headed for the door. "You still got to give us a chance to win our money back," the dwarf yelled after them. They pretended not to hear. Woohoo, money. They knocked on the door and waited for a reply. There were some shuffling sounds, and the door swung open, and they found themselves staring down at a dwarf. "Well, bless me bones, what brings you lads so hot from home?" He invited them into his house and offered them some fresh water for their pouches. He asked of their journey, and they told him briefly. "You heard about the troubles being had by the elves, then?" "Trouble?" questioned Owen. "Aye, damnedest thing. Baby dragons have been attacking Elvandar. Warrior Thomas has been doing his best to keep them out, but there's only so much he can do." He talked some more about the attacks and of the strange rock-like inhabitants that had been spotted in the Mac Mordain Cadal. They surprised him with a description of how he had killed one of these creatures. Thanking him for his kindness, they left. Yeah, they killed 2 of those creatures. Looks like, is that an inn? Looks like it used to be a tavern, but it got abandoned a while ago. Goraf halted. Blinking slowly, he put a hand over his stomach, then looked towards his confused-looking companion. "Hold for a moment, Owen. I wish to speak to you." "Why? What is it?" "I merely wish to prepare you for things that may transpire before you reach Elvandar. There are magics, things ancient, which have kept the Mordain from crossing into the forest of the Elvandar. But I feel those things have been awakened, and I may have some difficulty in completing our journey." "Difficulty? What do you mean?" "It was not my intent to alarm you, only to reassure you that no matter what may happen between here and Elvandar, I have come to consider you a friend." Now that's oddly touching and ominous. And spoiled rations in a shell. A store of some type. Well, was a store of some type. The house seemed to be abandoned. Prying open the front door, they entered cautiously. Inside, they found an assortment of furniture items, no doubt too heavy or bulky to move. Though it appeared there wasn't anything of value, the house was worth a careful search. And it's a Mordain brooch, but... Owen banged on the door with the side of his fist. After a moment, a man's voice called from inside. "What do you want?" "Could you give us some fresh water for our pouches?" That's one. "There's a well just down the road, now leave me alone." Further conversation didn't seem worth the effort, so they left. And yeah, there is in fact a well here. No one had answered the first knock, so Owen knocked again. Finally, a hoarse voice called to them, heavy with a dwarven accent. "Who's calling me?" "We come from the kingdom. Can we come in?" Owen asked. "Aye, the door's open. Do as you like." They opened the door and entered a dimly lit room, sparsely furnished. In one corner they could make out a shape, apparently lying on a bedroom. Come in, rest your bones a minute," said the dwarf in a tired voice. With his eyes closed, he looked as though he were seeing the events on the inside of each lid. He told them of his journey from Cadal and of the wyverns he had seen circling Elvandar. "The bloody Mordain had roaming about too. Took a sword in the side from one." He rolled over and they could see the deep gash extending from his hip halfway up his hairy back. "Can we do anything for you?" Owen went to the gate. "Nah, looks worse than it is. I really just need a few more days to rest up is all." They wished him well and left quietly. And yeah, finding the road and keeping an eye on it will be a mite tricky here, but... And here we have an actual shop, Split Tree Goods. I'm pretty sure we already have that key of lineages. And his place to get restoratives and rations and whatnot, but we are very well prepared at this point. Well, we do have a place to sell loot if we need it. And I'm continuing westward a bit. Yeah, funny thing about this forest is that if it's not for the road, you can very quickly get lost in the dark. And you don't get to see a lot of enemies on the road here. It's much more common to run into an ambush. And I'm going west until we do meet the enemy crypt to fight them. "We're going to have to fight," Owen said. "We turn around and let somebody pounce on us as if we were mice." Goraf laughed bitterly. "I think the mice would stand a better chance." And that is our cue that we have wyverns. And you'll note from the coloration that these are blue, which means, if I remember correctly, that they are vulnerable to lightning, but since they don't have metal on them, I can't use that. And I don't recall if Evil Seek works on them, but we'll give it a shot. Now, Evil Seek, oddly enough, does work on these animals. Now, let's see how fire works on that one. Killed it almost instantly. Yeah, these are the ice-breathing dragons, it looks like. So we'll go ahead and use a flame spell on them, and it should do more damage, I think. That was a 15 damage, and yep, these are ice wyverns, so they take more damage from fire. And that one should take that one out. And of course there is nothing worth looting upon the bodies of these poor beasts. And okay, we seem to have headed up more north than west, but I thought I was trying to aim more west than north, but we are actually at a very good stopping point here, because this is where the road diverges along a couple of different routes, and oh. Well, I was saying that this was a good point to stop it. So is this. So we can see, yeah, pretty simple trap. We just have to push that to trigger that and then run to freedom. But you know what? It may be the only chance I get to use this spell. And hey, we have this whole section filled up. Okay, apparently it will not just let me Black Nimbus this into nothing. Here's a glitch. Okay. We will do this the way they intended. Anyway, I was going to go to this bit because we can find elven houses which have a rope going up into the trees. Goref grabbed the rope, then planting both feet firmly against the tree, began to climb to the top. Owen followed. They stopped on a wide branch that was helping to support a small house. There didn't appear to be anybody about. "Shall we go inside, young Owen?" They entered the small tree house. "It appears that whoever left did so in a great hurry," Owen said. Beneath a hammock-style bed at the far end of the room, Garth found a chest, its covered blaze of strange symbols painted fire red. Carefully he opened the lid and looked inside, and, well, we have a wyvern egg, some elven arrows, and some fire arrows. And you know what? No room for it. Well, awesome as some fire arrows would be for fighting the wyverns, we won't chance it. So, as I was saying, we'll go ahead and stop and rest here, because this is a good point to stop, because the road diverges here, and I do intend to explore most of Elvandar, if not all of it. But we will go ahead and stop here, and next time we will go off in search of Prince Callan. We'll see you next time.